So in this video I'm going to show you how to rig up a double hook assist cord with a squid skirt, as typically used on pirate jigs, and these are also called injaku jigs. You can see it's got a squid skirt and a double hook. You can also use this on regular metal jigs. It works quite well. Just adjust the leg length to suit. So what we're going to be using is just some jigging hooks. You can use any hooks you want here, doesn't really matter. And I'm using a solid ring, in this case a size 5. I find the smaller ones tend to work a little bit better when attaching to small assist cords, assist points on the jigs. I'll also be using a squid skirt. You can use whichever one you like here. In addition to that, I also have 2 beads, one soft Lumo bead, doesn't have to be Lumo, and the second one is a hard bead. People typically use a red bead such as this. You can use whichever you like there. The first step is to take your assist cord, in this case some YGK Ultra, and cut yourself off a rather generous size. Now when you start off, it helps to make it just that little bit longer, but typically on pirate style jigs they tend to use quite long assist cords anyway. What we'll do is we'll fold it in half, leaving one leg a little bit longer than the other to account for 2 different size leg lengths for our hooks. And what we'll do is make a simple overhand knot. So loop around and pass the tag or the bite through the hole and pull down. And here just leave enough room. Depending on what you're adding on top, I find about 3 centimeters works well. Okay, so what we're going to do is add the hooks first. I'm just going to use a modified uni knot for these. You can use whichever knot you like, it's not terribly important in this case. From here, the uni knot, I'm just going to loop around, create 2 passes over the hook and the line, and pull down. From here, just to neaten it, I wrap the tag around. You can see this in my other video in a bit more detail. Again, you can use whichever knots you like. We're going to add the other hook on. It's a good idea to keep your hooks opposite direction, so just keep that in mind when you tie it. From here, pass the tag through from the hook point side, not the other direction. I'm going to create a double uni knot again, looping around, come around the shank and the line twice. And when you go here, you can adjust the length. In this case, I'll leave a little bit more tag out to shorten it. Pull this up so it's smallish, and I wrap the line around, and here I can pull in. Now, just before you pull in, just make sure your hooks are facing the opposite direction and pull tight. There we go. From here I can add a small amount of super glue just to keep the knots just that little bit tighter. It's usually not required. Just going to pull them up down, and you can trim the tags off. Okay, so the next step is to add our beads. So I'm going to take this bead and I'm going to add it on. Now because this is quite a small hole, a trick we can use is to use a bit of fishing line. This is just any old fishing line. Pass it through the bead, through the bite of your assist cord, and back through the bead. From here I can pull it on and pull it down. Now if you're using very thick assist cord, you might not need to use a bead, but in this case I'll demonstrate. From here we take our squid skirt and we just cut off the top. Try to leave it a relatively small hole on top. We take the tag and we pass it through the squid. So In this case I'm going to pull it down past the eyes. It will vary slightly depending on the brand of squid you use. Yeah. I'll fix that later. Okay, so the next step is to grab our solid bead. You don't really need to use this, but you can if you'd like. I want to pass it through and down. Now we're going to add our solid ring. We simply pass the bite through the eye of the solid ring, come around, make a lark's head hitch, and again this is covered in another video of mine in a bit more detail. And I'm going to pull this nice and tight, just be careful with those hooks. There we go. Now if you find your line starting to slip a bit, again you can use some super glue. In this case it just stops it unraveling a little, it doesn't actually need it for the strength. And from here we can then attach it onto our pirate's jig, or we can attach it onto our regular demersal jig. In that case just leave these hook shanks just a little bit shorter.